what it is, you guys. It is your girl Cadillac. Yes, I'm Cadillac Dixon. I'm the Draw My Life Prison Wife. I'm the legally blind artist that is rapping, almost forgot that part, that is rapping and painting for justice, hoping to see justice before all fates too black. Yes, it's your girl Cadillac. Oh, I just put lotion on my face. Anyways, coming through today is June 24th, right? Yeah. So just coming through, make a quick video before we get out there and do Atlanta for the last day. Okay, so no, if I do that, then I'll be backlit, so I have to stay like this. Ugh. See that view out there? If y'all could see it, no, y'all can't. Oh, there you go. All right, so anyways, I had a quick thought of a video that I wanted to do, right? It just hit me and I was like, I want to talk on that. As I've gotten older, okay, when I was younger, let me sit on down. When I was younger, I became a people pleaser. People pleasing usually comes out of something traumatic that happens to you. For me, it was, oh wow, where they going at? Okay, for me, people pleasing came out of trying to basically, I guess, get attention from my family. My parents always desired their love and attention. And I was always left out, looked over, pushed aside. Anything that was dealing with me was not as important. Now, I do know, now being 42, why it happened and what led to those things happening. It wasn't because, like I asked my mother before she passed, I was like, Mom, it just really felt like, you know, did you love me? Did you want me? Is really what I asked her. Did you even want me? Because I felt like my mother felt that when she had me, her dreams were pretty much over. My mother always desired education, wanted to go to college. She had this whole other life. And then when she got pregnant with me, she even mentioned that my dad was not the one that she, you know, that just kind of happened because she needed to get, you know, she had to get out of the place where she was at. So she found him in that time, but he was not really meant to be the one that, you know, she was gonna be with. She didn't even see him like that. So possibly I was that bond that kept her with my father, you know. And as I got older and my mother had my second sister when I was 9. And then after that, she had some twins. They passed away. They weren't birthed. They passed away close to being birthed. And then my mom said that my mother was a very spiritual woman. She said that God knew she could not handle twins. So right after that, she got pregnant back to back. What do you call those? Are those Irish twins when they're like a year and something apart? So then when I was 15, my mother had another child. And then when I was 17, my mother had my little sister, my youngest sister. And once my mother had the other kids and it wasn't just me, I always felt like I just became the built-in babysitter. Nothing with me ever mattered. I can have this going on, that going on. I remember coming to bring my artwork to my mother, and she would be like, okay, Keita, I don't have time, just put it on the refrigerator. It was like, it was never any time available for me. The time always went to everyone else. Like, I remember specifically on Saturday mornings, my mother would grab my three little sisters and they would go shopping together. They would go get their nails done together. They would do all these things together. And I kind of was not, included in it. And then also, I remember that anytime I would try to talk to my mother, she would always say, well, she would kind of like talk to you very short-temperedly. And as a child, I didn't understand it. As an adult, I can fully comprehend. A lot of times you're just overwhelmed, you're swamped, you're bogged down, and you're just trying to make it. So I know now that where that short-temperedness was coming from. But as a child, I thought it was just because it's me, because I literally could see my mother laughing and joking and talking when they were talking with when she was talking with my little sisters. But then the minute I say anything, it was the short-temperedness. So I'm like, wow, so it's literally just me. It is just me that she's aggravated with. So I started feeling like, let me just stay off to myself because she doesn't want me like she wants the others. So I literally grew up feeling that way. And my dad back then he was just always working. He wasn't really around. He was around, but he was always going working. So it wasn't like he was there for any of that emotional stuff or whatever. So, and then like I told you, I would find out like not pretense, past tense, that they were proud of me or happy about anything that I did. If I did something wrong, then they would say, oh, I thought you were gonna do this or you were gonna do that. Like point case, when I had money, when I got pregnant with money, and my dad asked me, was I pregnant? And I said, I don't know yet, because that was the time where you didn't get that instant, you didn't get an instant result. Like you had to wait for your results, right? So waiting for my results, whether I was pregnant or not, my dad was like, are you pregnant? And I said, I don't know yet. And he was like, well, know that if you are, your life is over. And I'm like, and just those words pushed me to say, no, it's not. No, I can be a mother and I can rise above this. Now, being 42 and looking back, he could have been right. He wasn't saying it like that. He was more so saying it like, it's over because your life is no longer your own. Whatever dreams you had, whatever aspects you had, because he was like, you used to draw so good and I thought you were gonna do this, I thought you were gonna do that. But in the moment, he never told me that. He told me that once I got pregnant, what all he thought I was gonna be. Which you should, you should encourage a person in that day. Don't past tense encourage them, because once they've done whatever they've done, it's undoable. You can't fix it. But the way I tried to fix it was, I was like, no, I know who I am. I could raise this child to the best of my ability. And this is pre-Marcello being taken away. We gonna raise this child together. We're getting married. We going on with our life. I'm gonna finish college and I'm gonna be just like none of that happened, and have my child and raise her in a loving household and stuff. And I was saying that I would not ignore her. I wouldn't push her off. I would encourage her. We never heard the words love. I would tell her I loved her. If I loved her, I would hold that back like that's a secret. Like, we do that in the Black community. We can't say that we love each other. Like, that's crazy. If you love somebody, you gotta tell them. If you're proud of them, you gotta tell them. So with that, I began to overachieve, try to do so much just to know I'm going to make it. No, I'm gonna rebound from this. I'm not always gonna be down. Now, since that time, I have always been down. So I don't know what I proved, but I guess I proved him right. But I, at that moment in age 20, just was like, no, no, I'm gonna make it. I had that Lil Black Girl's poem. When I'm walking down the street, I got a slip in my slide, a dip in my walk, a song in my head, a voice in my talk, a feeling in my heart, a meaning in my thoughts. So what styles do I sport? Cornrows, French braids, Afro puffs. Let me keep going, cause you know not enough. Natural comb, straight combs, and pigs, hair that's naturally thick. Kinky, curly, straight, or nappy, anything that makes me happy. And my body build, I'm big and tall, short and skinny, thick and thin, good and plenty. Got eyes like chestnut, lips that kill. See, I'm keeping this on the real. With my color like caramel, breath like cinnamon, sweet like sugar, and thick like honey. Please, I want love, not just your money. Don't want too many material things. Affection and friendship is what I need. If you cut me, will I not bleed? See, I'm the same as you, no better, no worse. Your pediatrician, doctor, head nurse, judge, jury, and your lawyer, sister, mother, and your daughter. So who am I? I'm a little black girl. Little black girls are made of sugar and spice and everything nice. I told you once, so don't ask twice. Why such confidence, you ask? It comes from past experience. I learned from the past mistakes I made. I study hard, I make the grade. I strive to be among the rest, or maybe better than the best. I reach for the moon, but if I should fail, amongst the stars I will prevail. I'm gonna make it, yes I am, because I'm more than just a little black girl. So I knew I was more than whatever circumstances that happened to me in my life, and I knew that I would achieve. I knew that I would grow. Just to let y'all know, I wrote that poem when I was 15 years old. 15 years old. And people used to mistake that poem for being Maya Angelou. And I'm like, no, I got inspiration from her, but no, that's not Maya Angelou. But yeah, so I just kept on like, no, this is not me. I'm almost like I'm better than this. This is me at my lowest point. But wait till you see me once I bloom. Once I'm that flower that blooms. But I never bloomed. So I became overachieving to try to please my parents. And it was so crazy because my little sister, they were completely unruly. They would do all kinds of stuff, tremendous. Like I'm not ready to speak about all the crazy stuff they done yet. And as they were doing all this, they were getting love, they were getting hugs, they were getting, oh, you're doing so good if they do this much, I could do this much, and I get ignored, nobody says anything. So I became just looking for that validation from my parents, from my family, basically. And then also, y'all know I was bullied. And when you're bullied, you're just beat down. Ugh, you're ugly, you're this, you're that. I was called ScarFace because I had that skateboard accident. I do have a drama life. I can link in the description box about how that happened, girl. And I ended up scraping all this off, and it was all black. At first it was all that pink meat, and then it became like super jet black across my face. I had knocked out my teeth. I looked like a monster, and the kids let me know that I looked like a monster when I was in middle school. And the teachers actually thought I was being abused. They was like, you could tell us what happened. I'm like, lady, I fell off my skateboard. And she's like, no, you could tell us the truth. And I'm like, okay, you can't handle the truth. But yeah, so I was shunned. If I got on the bus, people would move. I would have to sit by myself. I had to eat by myself. Everything by myself. I remember one day a boy sat next to me and it was like, don't sit there. And he was like, why? And it was like, that's ScarFace, you cannot sit by her. And he was like, but isn't she still a female? And he was like, this other guy said, no, she's ScarFace, she's not a female. So I was always left out, looked over, picked on, and the only time I was not being picked on is when people were oohing and ahhing over me drawing. That was the only time that I was made to feel human. So I always tried to please people because I just wanted to be accepted. That's it. I was always rejected, and I just wanted to be accepted. I didn't want to always stand out. I didn't want to always be, So that's where that people pleasing for me began, because not only was I getting rejected in my family, I was going out into the world and always rejected. So everywhere I'm rejected, which leads you in a young mind to think that it's you. It's just something wrong with you, because this is not happening to everyone. It's just you. So it began a bad cycle with my family that anytime anybody needed me, I'm just there. Because I got to be enough. I'm not enough, so I got to overperform to be enough. And that became a bad, bad, bad habit in my life. And people just got to the point where they just knew that Kita's always gonna be there. They would treat me any type of way. They'll talk about you behind your back. They'll do this and do that. They wouldn't support you. They wouldn't, anytime you needed something, like help with anything, they wouldn't be there, but you would be there for them. And this went on for so long. Like, you'll do the most. I would do anything for my family. I'll move mountains, and then you'll turn around and ask them for the slightest bit of help, and they'll be like, oh, I wish I could, but I can't help you. Like, I was constantly lending out money. I was constantly doing this, constantly doing that, constantly doing favors and not getting nothing in return, to the point where it ended up that I was taking care of everyone around me. But in all that people pleasing, you lose yourself, because usually a people pleaser does not spend as much time working on themselves as they spend working on other people's lives. And that's where I became a people pleaser. And it became where I was always like, anytime people would do me wrong, or they'll do something wrong, or they'll hurt my feelings or whatever, they knew that they don't have to apologize. They would never apologize. No one would ever say, no, I probably shouldn't have did that. Kita, you really didn't deserve that. What they would do is just come back and start talking to me, and we'll act like it never happened, like it never happened at all. And because I always felt I didn't want to throw things back in people's faces. I knew that people are imperfect. I knew that people make mistakes, and I make mistakes too. And sometimes people need forgiveness. Now, the part that I didn't realize is that when you do that, people are going to continue to keep treating you the same way. Like, I remember one instance with my sister when we were both in college. And literally, I could be sitting there working on a project, and I was the slowest one in college. I'm handicapped. I can't understand, because basically this is a whole different generation. I grew up in the 80s/90s. We didn't know anything about this graphic design, computers, or anything else, so I'm struggling. I have a big learning curve, plus I have disabilities, which is my hands and my eyesight. So I was struggling. It would take me much longer to complete any assignment. My classmates would already be done with the assignment, and I'm still barely almost done with it. You know what I mean? And it was several assignments stacked on one another. So my sister comes in screaming to the top of her lungs, and I'm like, can you please just hold it down, please? And when I would address anything, she would go off and just start hollering and screaming at me. And for me, I'm always the bigger person. I always play that bigger person role. And like my mother would always say, it takes a fool to argue with a fool. Yes, it does. But at some point, when you never argue back, you never say anything back, people feel like that's the way they can talk to you. That's the way they can treat you. And they continue to treat you in that manner. So it would be to a point where I can take a lot, but then when it gets to that boiling point where drips are falling over the lid, I will say what I need to say. And that too is a problem. That too is a problem. I let people get too far with their mess before I address it. So she would be doing all types of stuff, and then because I said, can you keep it down, she's hollering and screaming and all of that. But then flip the other way, when she's doing her homework, you couldn't even come in the room. Oh, you're distracted because you turned the doorknob. But I'm like, you literally just did worse to me, and I didn't even do anything, but you're mad at me. And it was always that. I have that situation in so many of my family relationships. They would do the most to you, and you're supposed to forgive them. You're supposed to be okay with it. Let's just move on. And this is the whole point of why I wanted to make this video, because what people would tell you when there's a debate between you and another family member, the first thing, nobody is ever going to call anybody out. I believe that's the problem. Because in a situation, what they like to say is basically both of y'all are wrong, and both of y'all need to, that's childish when you have a debate with somebody, which for me, usually it's been, I've told you over and over and over, please don't do this, please don't do that. I don't like when you do this, I don't like, and you continue to do it, and eventually I'm gonna address it. So they'll say that we need to just, that life is too short for this. Y'all just need to come together, but you can never come together because number one, the issue's never pinpointed out of what's the problem. So best believe if we kill this problem now, if we push it down, it's gonna rise back up because we've never dealt with the problem. When a family member is doing something wrong that they should not do wrong, that they know they are wrong, and everybody, all the other family members see that they're wrong, but what happens is everyone's silent. You're just left out there to like wonder yourself, am I right? Am I wrong? And for me, because of that, that people pleasing and all of that, I developed, and the bullying and everything else, I developed negative self-talk. I'm automatically gonna think that I'm wrong. You know what I mean? Is there something on my eye? I hope not. I hope I didn't record this whole video with some of my eye. But I'm automatically gonna think, yeah, Kitty, you are wrong because you're always wrong. You know, people always say that you're the one wrong. Though I'm the one always trying to keep the peace. I'm always the one wrong. How ironic when other people don't even attempt to keep the peace. I think it's just easier to blame me. And I do believe, I'm so glad that I started watching all these therapy videos because now I know the words to say. I've become the scapegoat, basically, in my family unit. You just place the blame on me because you know, or just treat Keita how you want because you know when you're okay with Keita, she's gonna just open arms, just welcome you back. Oh, it's okay. You don't even have to apologize. And I don't know. That's what I don't like, is that life is too short scenario. I know that. And that is why I've always welcomed people back with open arms, because life is too short. But also life is too short for you to keep mistreating me. And I take that. I don't say nothing to you. I internalize it. I still feel all the feelings behind it. I still can't understand why you're talking to me the way you're talking to me. I still can't understand why you know what I'm saying? I cannot understand that, but I don't throw it back in your face, right? I don't say anything. And then when you're done and you're good and, oh, okay, now I need Keita, so I'm gonna be nice to her because I need her right now. And when I pretty much don't need her, it's gonna be screw her again, you know, because that situation would happen with my sister a lot. Like, she was only nice to you when she was needing something. And you would be like, dang, like, is it that she only, when she would be nice, you would start thinking she must need something. What is it that you want? And I would always think that when people did that to me, but it wasn't until I got a little older in my life that I started just verbalizing it. Like when people come to me and with that fake niceness and be like, oh, and I'll be like, what you need? What do you want? Like I started calling people out, and people hate to be called out. They want to hide behind, no, I'm just being nice. And then they want to later on down the conversation spring on you what they want from you. You know what I mean? People don't want to be caught. People don't want to be caught in their mess. And I always caught people in their mess. I always knew their mess. I always knew their tactics. I always knew their games. I always knew the mind manipulation. But I just never wanted to call them out. But now I started calling them out. A few years back, I started calling them out. And people get really angry when you call them out on their mess. And they say, oh, life is too short. Just keep doing this. We're never gonna say who's wrong or right, because somebody's wrong, somebody's right. Somebody is. I could be wrong, and that person could be right. Or I could be right, and that person could be wrong. But if you just flatline it and say that let's just come to an agreement, both of y'all right, both of y'all wrong, we never solve the issue. We just pat it down, and the issue arises again. If you don't call people out on their mess, people don't try to get better. People do not try to get better. People don't just sit back and say, what am I doing wrong, and try to work on it. Some people do, but most people don't. It is not until you have called them out, addressed it, you are wrong. There's no way you should be doing that. You are wrong. That's when the person has to self-reflect. And that's when the person has to go back and work on themselves. So if you never call the person out, the person never self-reflects, and the person never gets better. They can just keep doing the same thing over and over and over, because nobody has ever called them out. So people like to tell me life is too short for that. But guess what? Life is too short for me to keep allowing you to mistreat me, to use me, talk to me any way you want, and only be nice to me when you need me. All right, guys, I gotta go because we about to hit the town, and I done wandered off. It's your girl, Cadillac.